Welcome to the Amazing Legacy Show. This is a channel that talks about real estate, lifestyle, and finance. And in case this is the first time you are joining this channel, my name is Raji Olawale. I am a real estate coach and a venture capitalist. If what you are looking for is a channel that discusses real estate locally and globally, if what you are looking for is a channel that discusses about the lifestyles of various individuals around the world with respect to real estate, or you are looking for a channel that discusses business, on how you can improve your business, how you can diversify your business, how you can have diverse investment portfolio, then this is the right channel. I want to encourage you to subscribe, to like, and to share. Now today I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic. Actually, this is going to be a series, and this is going to be episode 1. And what I'll be talking about today is about the biggest real estate scams in history. The biggest real estate scams in history. Join me on the show. I will be right back. Welcome back to the Amazing Legacy Show. And just like I reiterated, I will be discussing about the biggest real estate scams in history. And for today's show, I will only be talking about the episode 1. So it's going to be in series, and I'm going to be taking it one after the other. And today I want to talk about a very big real estate scam that took place somewhere along Brazil and America. It's a very big real estate scam, and this actually took place around 2012 to 2014. I call it the telex-free Ponzi real estate scam, or in another word you can call it the telex-free scam. And this scam is tied around real estate and so many other dubious activities. Talking about the telex-free real estate scam, or the telex-free Ponzi real estate scam. Now, why I call it the telex-free Ponzi real estate scam? Because it was a combination of Ponzi scheme and real estate, and you're probably going to be seeing how these people came up with an idea, and they were able to dupe so many people all over the world of their valuables, of their hard-earned money. So you want to be careful out there, the kind of person you give your money, the kind of person you trust with your investment decisions, and the kind of people you want to you want to consult when it comes to acquiring property. How did this whole saga started? It all started in 2012 by two major individuals called Carlos Wanzilla and James Miller. I hope I get that name right. That is Carlos Wanzilla and James Miller, in Brazil in the year 2012. Now, what these two individuals did was that they actually sat down and they orchestrated a genius idea on how they could scam so many people. And the idea was to actually offer a service in disguise, and this service they were offering in disguise was a telecommunication service, or in other words, I think they call it the VoIP or VoIP services. So I think that's what they call it in Latin America, the VoIP services. You want to Google that to know more about it. They offered two major services. One was the VoIP services, and the second one was advertisement service. That was their intention, that was what they wanted to offer. But the VoIP services was just a disguise. The real business was under the advertising business. Now I will explain the both of them. Now the VoIP services was basically centered around them taking advantage of the fact that the call tariffs was very expensive. And around 2012 was around when there was global decline in financial cycle, and people were battling with a lot of financial depression, because there was global meltdown when it comes to finance, and people were actually having the pinch on the body. And these telecommunication services, they came up with high tariffs, and this was an advantage for them. They came up with an idea that they want to give people free call services, a scenario where people can call each other free of charge. All they were just expected to do was just to make a subscription of $20 within a single month, and they can enjoy free calls whatsoever from free calls to each other. And the second idea was to pitch an advertisement business where they tell you that you begin to make money by advertising. Imagine you just woke up all of a sudden in the morning, and probably you are battling, or you are going through financial difficulties of different kinds, and you actually need someone to come to your rescue. You actually need help, and all of a sudden, booms, you just see these ads that pops up on your phone that you could actually make $100 every month, and all that is just required of you is just to do three simple tasks. That is, by sending adverts, just doing three simple tasks, and every month you make as much as $100, depending on whatsoever package you choose to subscribe. That was their idea, and that was what the advertisement part of this business was all about. The advertisement part of this business was all about recruiting people into the company with the idea that they are going to give them simple tasks, and once they fulfill that simple task, which is clicking and doing probably advertising on advertising through their phone, as they do this, it accumulates, and after it accumulates within a single month, there is a particular amount they get. And they were quite successful initially. That was in 2012 when they started. They began to sell out their ideas to people, and this actually started in Brazil, and Carlos Wanzilla was a native of Brazil, while James Miller was a native of the United States of America. This actually started in Brazil. So the financial individuals were unsuspecting of what was going on. They probably felt that this was a telecommunication company trying to provide VoIP services, not really knowing that it was actually a scam. It was a potential scam. And along the line, as things went by, they recruited people into the scheme, and few individuals, gullible individuals, subscribed into the scheme, because the mind was that you are not just only buying the VoIP services, you are also investing in the company, you are also making money. That was their major pitch. That was their major strength of advertisement. The business aspect, the money aspect. Once you want to key yourself into a company, you are not only looking at the you are not only looking at the services, you are also looking at the pocket, how this company can bring value into your pocket. And they began to see it from the perspective of the money they could make from the company. And they pitch it. And one of the things these people that do these Ponzi scams and these pyramid scams get rich quick, one of the things they do is they categorize their scams into different packages, different plans. They say you buy this plan. Once you buy this plan, then you invite 2 to 3 people. Once you invite 2 to 3 people, you start earning. Then the person you invite also invites another person. That means something like an upline and a downline. Like you are the upline, you who probably maybe you are the first recruitee in the company. You bring 2 downlines, that is you recruit 2 persons. Then the 2 persons you recruit are also tasked that if they want to earn, this was how they started it. And the first set of people who started it were getting dividends for their money. They were getting return for the money they invested. And people subscribe to different plans. They have different plans. There's a particular amount you're expected to pay before you could start, and probably that amount varied. Some maybe $50, $20, $100, $200, depending on the category or the income you are looking at in terms of the revenue you want to generate into your pocket at the end of the month. And what they did was quite simple. It's just for you to look at, to look at 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. The money they are getting from the recruitees was what they were using to pay people at the top. And they probably split it. They pay part of it to the people who brought them, then they take theirs. And the more people come, the more the last set of people that are recruited into the business pays the people at the top. And that was how it began to gain widespread of acceptance all over Brazil. Even there was even a time one of the security operatives in Brazil caught wind of it, and it was escalated to the Brazilian authorities about these scam activities and how it is gaining widespread acceptance within the people. But because of the fact that they pitched a service to the people through the VoIP service, so they could not easily detect the fact that it was a scam. And along the line, the authorities in Brazil became more suspicious. But by this time, they were already gaining so much ground. Now, I'm going to tell you how the real estate was brought into this, because bringing the real estate into this was the most juicy aspect of this scam. By this time, they gained so much control over the market, so much control over the people. They began to at a point in time, they began to hold, or should I say, they held so many conferences, they held conventions. It was even to the point of even holding award ceremonies, rewarding people who were doing well at the top. Of course, as individuals, when you begin to see these, probably maybe you were invited for the award ceremony, of course you are motivated. You also want to key yourself into this movement of financial freedom, of financial security. And so many people began investing massively. And to also buttress this, they also did something, because before people believe this kind of schemes, I know people want to do their research, people want to do their underground findings. And one of the way you want to do your underground findings is to go to their websites and they got to their website. Actually, people browse to their website. They had a top-notch website. All it takes for you to pay the right person to do a top-notch website for you, that is all it takes. And they got the right person to do the website, and the profile for Carlos Wanzilo and James Miller was top-notch. They presented them as, how will I call it now, they presented them as experts, specialists in the field of telecommunications. And when people see that, boom, the website was so enticing. It was not just enticing alone, it was captivating, also alluring to the fact that you could also make a lot of money. You could also build financial stability, you could also build financial security. Imagine so many people trying to have imagine so many people started, dreaming about what they could do, dreaming about the kind of world they could live in if all these promises were actually kept. And of course, these promises were actually kept gradually for the people at the top, the people who started it. Immediately you fulfill, you bring more people, and you are also motivated. When you hear people giving their testimony, or you see people spending lavishly as a result of the fact that they used the downline money to pay those at the top. And probably maybe it's somebody before you know it, you also want to join. And that was how the movement grew almost throughout Brazil. And by this time, they had 1 million people were involved in this movement. And it got to a time, the Brazilian Security Exchange Commission, they detected that there is something fishy about this scam. And as a result of that, they closed up the Brazil office. And before they closed up the Brazil office, I want to get into the juicy part of this scam. What they simply did was that while they were at it, while people were accepting their scam activities, while people were buying into their VIP services, while people were buying into their business model, people were unsuspicious. And what they did was that by this time they already had virtually a lot of money, probably not so much as it was said they made at the end of it all when they were busted. But by this time, before operation ceased in Brazil, they had so much money, and they began to buy properties in Brazil, in America. They began to buy properties, and they were very specific about, or they were very, these people, they like I said in the beginning of the show, they were genius when it comes to masterminding these evil acts. They chose the kind of property they even wanted to buy. They specifically bought commercial properties and luxurious properties. They bought different types of properties with respect to commercial properties and luxurious properties. So these properties had so many apartments, and they began promising those people who do well in the company these apartments, and they were actually giving people, you can see that they were actually giving people these properties. They were actually awarding people, giving people keys. I know people taking to their social media accounts, people sending viral videos going viral about them, about Telex Free Communication Company giving them a house, rewarding them of their efforts, of their labor in the company. And boom, this escalated the whole thing, and people started, that was how they actually escalated, and they expanded throughout the whole Brazil. And it was so strong that even when the Brazil authorities folded the company up around 2012, the people still did not want to give up. They did not believe it's a scam. People were still unsuspecting, the mirage, or will I say the thought of the fact that this is a business that could actually end up all their financial struggle, that was actually their intentions. That was actually, and because of that, they found it hard to believe, and somehow some people were still doing, even though the Brazilian authorities had closed the business down. Now, you would believe that at this point in time the business should have ceased to exist. No, Carlos Wanzilla and James Miller did not give up. They took the business, they went to United States of America and did it in a bigger fashion. And what they did was that they even went to get an office. You can imagine, they got an office, even employing people. You have your admin, you have secretary, you have gate man, you have executives within the company. They did it in a very big fashion, and they started the same scheme in United States of America. And something about American people is they have this perception of an American dream. I want to own this. I want to ride this luxurious vehicle. Americans are known with acquiring luxurious items, dreaming big, and everybody wanted to quickly break forth. Everybody wanted to, they wanted to add financial breakthrough as quick as possible. And this was like a soft spot, or this was like a soft landing for these scammers. And that was how they started their operation in America. And as at the time they started in America was 2013. So when they started in America, by this time, when they expanded, they've already gotten to 1.8 million people, and these 1.8 million people opened close to 5 million accounts. You can tell. Let's just assume they were asked to bring just $1 $1 makes it $5 million. Now, they were not asked to bring $1 as you would guess, right? They were asked to bring as much as, depending on how you want to earn in a month. Some people brought as much as $100, $200, $300. The more the merrier. And so many people invested so much money. And as at the time the wind of the operation was gradually getting busted in United States of America, it was alleged that Telex Free Company, which was founded by Carlos Wanzilla and James Miller, they made close to $3 billion. I'm not talking about $3 million. I'm talking about $3 billion. Imagine a lifestyle of luxury they would have lived, which they did live. It was like turning celebrity overnight. It was like a rag to riches story all of a sudden. This was how these people made so much money. And the Security Exchange Commission in America were so active in the fact that they got them busted as soon as possible. But it was actually too late, because they expanded beyond America. They expanded into China, they expanded into Peru, they expanded to Portugal and other parts of Latin America. And there are so many of these scams even in this present time. At the end of it all, these two individuals were busted in the United States of America. And eventually, when they were caught, Carlos Wanzilla, he fled America to Brazil, to avoid extradition. While on the other hand, his counterpart, or should I say the co-founder of this scam, which was James Miller, remained in United States, and charges was pressed against him, and he pleaded guilty to wire fraud. And according to some source, it was reported that he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. And another source confirmed that he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Any which way he was sentenced to prison. For Carlos Wanzila, his fate was eventually sealed in 2019 when he was eventually caught, and he could not run away from the wrath of the law that was stretched forth against him in Brazil. And that was how this business or this pyramid scam was halted. Now, during this period, while this scam was going on, so many people were promised properties and so many people were given fake document, forged documents. In this part of the world, it takes nothing to forge documents. Some documents that they give you, for property acquisitions are fake. And I also want to say that before you buy any property or before you trust anybody with any investment, be careful. Why? Because anything that is too good to be true, for instance, in a particular location, probably maybe you've asked somebody and they are telling you that the land here is 10 million naira, and probably somebody else comes to you and tell you that wow, this property is 900,000 naira. Be careful. These are too good to be true. You want to ask the question. If I asked randomly and I was told our property here is around 10 million naira, and you want to buy the property and somebody is preaching it to you that this property is 900,000, and these scammers, they have a way of sweet talking you to tell you that there are so many people on this property, is on the basis of first come first serve. If you quickly come, you would get it. If you don't come on time, you lose the property. And because you don't want to lose this opportunity, you just pay such a money. And funny enough, you are not the only one paying that money. So many people are paying that type of money in that particular location, and at the end of the day, when you notice that this is a scam and you try calling the agent, his number is switched off, is nowhere to be found. There are so many examples like that in this part of the country, or in this part of the world, Nigeria, Lagos especially, where people have been duped of their valuables. People have been scammed. Before you invest in real estate, please be careful. You want to be careful before you invest your hard-earned money. So on this note, I want to appreciate you for taking your time to listen to this first episode. The second episode is going to be mind-blowing, and the second episode, I'll be talking about how one man sold a property, a government property, to so many people. You'll be watching it in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. In case you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, like and share. And for you out there, have you had any experience of real estate shege? What do I mean by shege? For some of us that don't understand shege, you've seen hell, you've come back from hell when it comes to investing in real estate. I want to hear your story. You can drop it in the comment section below, and I want to encourage you, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching this episode of the biggest real estate scam in history. God bless you.